Hola a todos, bom ano novo, s novym godem. Okay, so I know it's been a week into the new year and I have not updated. I mean, I was supposed to make a video last December, but I got really busy and I wasn't able to. But the last month, I was able to decide finally what language I finally decided to actually add another language to the languages that I'm learning since my Portuguese is at an even better level, probably low B1, so really low intermediate. For Russian, probably a low A2. Definitely not a beginner anymore. So I've decided to add French to I've decided to add French as well and learn French this year. Francuski, Francês. Yes. And I was first thinking between learning Swedish or German, and I realized that these two languages are in, I think, German is in group 2 and Swedish is in group 3, I think, I think it's in the same group as Russian in terms of difficulty learning for a native English speaker. So yes, that's the reason why I decided to learn French, because it would be easier since I already learned Portuguese, and there's a lot of it's in the same group of languages like French, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese, and Romanian are all Romance languages, so there's a lot of similarities there. And true enough, when I decided to learn French, so what I did first was I listened to Swedish for a few hours, and then I listened to German for a few hours, and then read along before I decided what language to finally learn this year. So I realized that it would take me less effort to learn French, along with improving my Portuguese and my Russian. So that's one of the reasons why I chose French for 2023 for my additional language. Other reasons are that I've been to France like a couple of times, 2 or 3, I think, but across many years. I've been to Paris at least twice, and then Provence once, and yes, so yes, I think I think it's more of like being able to cross the bridge, because it's closer to, like I said, a Romance language. So I'm learning French this year finally. Okay, and another background, I just wanted to explain for those people who have not seen any of my videos, how I'm able to take it upon myself to learn 3 languages this year. First is I started Portuguese in June of 2021. So I've more than over a year and several months of Portuguese already, and I am, like I said, at a low intermediate level. For low intermediate, okay, I'm able to watch things through context, not into and things I'm not able to watch without subtitles yet, but okay, so I will explain that later on. So my background, I wanted to go through my background first. I grew up a polyglot like a lot of people around me, and here in the Philippines, like we have two official languages, which is English and Filipino. And I also studied in a Chinese school, so we had English, Filipino, and Mandarin in school every day until high school. And then at home, we would speak another Chinese language, which is Hokkien, and another Filipino language, which is Cebuano, because that's where my parents grew up. So if you live in the Philippines, grow up in a different province outside of Metro Manila, you would at least speak three different languages. Your local language in your province, Filipino, the national language, and English, the other official language. And if you're like me, who have immigrant ancestors, we would speak Mandarin and Hokkien as well. So it's normal for me to think in different languages or think in one language and say things in a different language. This is not new to me, which is how I know that I'm able to learn three languages at the same time. So now I'm going to update on the current hours that I have in each language. First is for Portuguese. I already have 925 hours in total for Portuguese, and that is already way over the 600-hour mark, which is the number of hours that one would need to accomplish in Portuguese as a native English speaker to get to a basic fluency. So compare 925 hours to 600 hours, of course, I'm way over basic fluency. Now, for Russian, it's in level 3, in the level 3 group of languages. So level 3 difficulty for English native speakers, or native English speakers. So I only have 465 hours in Russian, which makes me not yet even at a basic fluency level, because for Russian, some say it requires 1,100 hours or to 1,100 to 1,500 hours of exposure, reading, listening, speaking Russian. So from 465 hours to 1,100 even hours, I still have more than 600 hours to go. So which is why my Russian is at the most is a low A2 level, low upper beginner. So I'll get into that later on. And for French, like I said, I started also listening to German, Swedish, and French, and decided that I would be pursuing French for 2023. So as of 2022, at the end of 2022, I have 7 hours of French listening and reading. So, and I would need 585 hours for French. And so that's a goal. So now I'm going to discuss my goals for this year. And these goals are not definite. They're just bars that I put for myself to try to achieve. But whether I do hit it or not depends on how busy I am with other things, because language learning is still a hobby outside of work and outside of my workouts, because I'm also focusing on tennis this year, or I started tennis last year, and then I'm continuing to focus on it as well. So like I said, before I started tennis, I used to listen a lot while I did my workouts, whether it was lifting weights or doing yoga, practicing yoga. I would listen to podcasts or stories or anything in Portuguese and Russian. And because for tennis, I couldn't actually do that. I have less time to listen to the languages. So that's one of the things that I'm considering when I made the goals that I'm trying to reach for 2023. So let's start with Portuguese, which is the oldest of my new languages. It's still new, but it's older than Russian and French. So first is for Portuguese. Like I said, I'm at least at a high A2 level or a lower B2 level. So, lower B1 level. So I am at a low intermediate, and my at 925 hours, and I'm not sure, or the goal at least for this year is to reach 1000 hours or more and reach to a B2 level, which is higher intermediate. So how am I going to do that? I'm still reading Harry Potter, and I'm going to finish. I will try to read as much as I can in this year. So I'm almost done with Philosopher's Stone, and then I'm going to move on to Chamber of Secrets, and then until the 7th book, and even the Cursed Child, if I get there. And then I would be watching more films on YouTube and Netflix to practice listening. Some videos I actually don't turn on, like on YouTube. I would just listen. I wouldn't even read the subtitles just to see if I can understand. And if there are things that I do not understand, I would watch it again with the subtitles and pause and, yes, so I would first listen to it, see if I understand things, and then watch it again with the subtitles and see if what I heard is what they're actually saying based on the subtitles. And then I might watch it again a third time or fourth time, or listen to it again tomorrow or like the next day, just to see my comprehension, because listening a lot is what actually reading first is to get vocabulary, and listening to it helps with listening. It would help me how do you say this? It would help me hear the words individually better, if that makes sense. Like the more I listen, the clearer each word sounds in Portuguese, of course, because I'm already at that level. And I already made my last gold list last year, in December. So I'm not going to make new gold lists for Portuguese. I think I already have 20 or so final gold lists in Portuguese, and I think I can move on from gold listing like flashcards, and just really move on to read more content for new words and phrases. So Harry Potter, videos on YouTube by native speakers, and even learning channels like Portuguese with Leo and such. So my daily goal would be birds. Okay, it's raining outside, so there are a lot of birds. I can hear a lot of them going around. So my goal to get from B1 to B2 this year would be at least 30 minutes per day of Portuguese, whether it's reading Harry Potter, watching a film, watching YouTube, listening to podcasts, and these goals are not like, these are I set myself daily goals, but for example, I'm not able to finish that daily goal, it would still count towards my weekly goal. So maybe I'm busy today, I can only do 10 minutes of reading just to finish link and accomplish link, And then maybe in the weekend, if I have more time, I would watch a movie in Portuguese. That would be 90 minutes or so. So, moving on to Russian. My Russian is at a very low A1. I only have, like I said, I only have 465 hours that I've accumulated last year. So that's only about an hour or so per day. For 2022, I got busy, like I said, and I'm going to continue reading and listening to beginner content still, because reading in Cyrillic is easier, but still not too natural for me. It took me, I can think of a Mandarin, it took me at least 5 years or more until first grade to be able, or even until now, I still cannot understand everything, right, with Mandarin, because I stopped after 13 years of school. And I haven't been exposed to it. And each character is distinct. So, with Russian, I've only been learning it since December of 2021. So it would take more time for me to be very, very comfortable in it. It's like every time I see Cyrillic, I understand that it's Cyrillic, but it would take me like a few seconds to read the entire thing. So, like for example, I was watching The Legend of the Guardians, the one with Jack Gelado, because I watched it in Portuguese this last year, and I think there was a part that they were in Moscow, and I had to pause because I said, okay, it's Cyrillic. I think they're in Moscow because the Kremlin was there, and then I had to pause the video to read what was written on the screen. So that's my Russian reading. It's still a bit slow. So I'm going to work on that. So read and listen to more beginner content. Compared to Portuguese, I'm already on Harry Potter's, cartoons, films, native content. Slow down, but still, I am not yet there with Russian, so I'm going to stick to beginner content. I'm also going to be still writing gold lists, because I did not make a lot of gold lists for Russian last year. So this year I'm going to focus on just making gold lists in the Russian. I think I only have 27 bronze lists last year, so that means I barely wrote any list last year. Because if I had, I would have at least 365 lists of Russian lists. So, yes, but it's still, gold listing is still not the main thing. So the main thing for me, at least with Russian, because it's in Cyrillic, is just reading, listening, but more beginner content as compared to Portuguese. And then, of course, practice speaking. To get to 1,100 hours by the end of this year, my goal is to get 90 minutes of Russian reading, listening, speaking per day, exposure per day. So I would still be reading all of these story learning Russian, and my books in Russian, like Conversations in Simple Russian, and then Russian for Dummies, and I have another book, and of course all my other resources I have on link, of course. So that is for Russian. Now, for my nouvelle langue, French. As I said, I already have 7 hours at the end of 2022, and my focus for French is listening and listening and listening. Even not reading a lot, but listening while reading. Basically, when I say listening, I would be reading as well. So my plan for the first 90 to 100 hours would be pure listening and reading, not focusing on speaking yet, because I think I've learned from Portuguese and Russian that without enough hours of exposure in listening to the language, it is more difficult to speak. My mouth, or the movement of my mouth, is not yet accustomed to like the French way of speaking. So I think listening a lot to it helps with recognition. So for the first 90 to 100 hours, just listening and reading. So to get to 585 hours by the end of 2023, my goal is 90 minutes of 90 minutes of working with French every day. So, like for example, today I've had almost an hour of French listening, and I would probably finish the 90 minutes by the end of today. Yes. So, okay. That is my update, or at least that's my goal for this year. And so I would like to end this video by speaking in Portuguese, Russian, and French a bit. So gosto de começar em português. Olá a todos, bom ano novo. Agora é sexta-feira, não, quinta-feira, na Filipinas, e pouco atualização da minha vida. No ano passado, eu tinha novo gato, chamada Freya, uma gata malhada, muito pequenina, muito fixe, muito fofo. Sim. Agora eu tenho 10 gatos na minha casa, dentro de casa. Que mais? No dezembro, no ano passado, eu vi a Christmas Carol na Netflix, tudo em português europeu. A minha primeira vez viste um filme. Não a minha primeira vez, mas na altura quando eu vi Christmas Carol, acho que é muito engraçado, porque não é muito difícil para mim. Não é muito difícil para mim ver no filme. Por isso acho que meu nível está a melhorar. Mais? Não sei como se diz. Melhorar. Está a melhorar do que antes. Do que no ano 2021. Do que eu comecei. Com certeza. Então, Eu quase acabei ver. Não, quase acabei ler Harry Potter e a Pedra Filosofal e depois vou ver. Vou ler Câmara de Segredos, Harry Potter, a segunda livro. O que mais? Yeah, so yeah, basically that was my Portuguese. I talked about the stuff that I watched and the books that I am reading, and what else? So now, я говорю чуть-чуть по-русски. Я думаю, мои русский не очень хорошо. Но я могу писать и читать like beginner things. Не знаю, как сказать. Я люблю играть в теннис. Я играла в теннис каждый день. Нет, не каждый день. 4 раз в неделю. Иногда 5 раз в неделю. Окей, май. Oh no. Не знаю, как сказать. У меня есть 10 кота. 10 кота на дома. Не знаю. Conjugate, I mean, the words and the... Не знаю, как сказать. Like, the changes between the nouns are still not clear to me. So anyway, yes, those are basically things I can say in Russian. Я люблю есть торт, шоколад. That's where my Russian is right now. So, and for French, I can only say bonjour, au revoir, comment allez-vous, comment ça va bien, bon après-midi. Like right now it's afternoon, bon après-midi. Je suis the natural yogi. Je m'appelle the natural yogi. Yeah, those are basically I'm still there. And it's exciting to add French, because I'm also waiting for Lupin to come out, the new season. So hopefully by then I would be able to watch it with the French subtitles, hopefully. Yeah, maybe I would even watch the first 2 seasons in French, even if I don't understand anything, or a lot, just for exposure. So that's it, and this is a very long video, and I hope that, at least for my sake, I can see my progress in these languages at the start of 2023, and we'll see what happens at the end of this year, how far I would have come with Portuguese and Russian as well, and see if I would move on to another language in the next year, or just stick to these 3 languages until I get a better fluency in all 3. So thank you for watching, and пока-пока. До скорого.